You need to get out right now. Things are way worse than they're saying. They are lying about pretty much everything that is happening, and I am shocked on this research that I've done and what is actually happening. This is on the level of Agent Orange. The chemicals that are being released can produce Agent Orange. And if you are familiar with that chemical, devastating effects. All right, we're going to cover all this, and over 10 states are in the path of this destruction, and things just got even worse. All right, a dam just broke, and literally a dam just broke, and things are getting even worse. And the EPA, the federal government, is trying to cover it up, and they've done this before too. All right, back in the 70s, this happened. Something very similar. We're going to cover all this stuff, and they are trying to cover it up. And it could also lead to the food supply being poisoned. These chemicals being released stick inside of fatty acids, stick inside of meat, and could poison our food supply as well. The food you are eating could be poisoned by these chemicals as well. So this is very serious. This is a massive cover up, and things just got even worse. So we're going to cover all this stuff. Dioxins are floating in the air and are being released into the water as well. We're going to cover all this. So I'm going to break down all this stuff. Literally, Agent Orange chemicals are being released into the U.S. right now. This is chemical warfare. This is a chemical biological attack on millions of people in the United States, and there's really no word on it, right? It's a story, but it needs to be taken as a national emergency, federal emergency. There needs to be the full force. This is what the government's good for. This is all they're good for. Honestly, they have a lot of bloat, and if they're not good for this, then what are they good for? All right. So you can see here, just to start off, stick with me here. This is going to be a long video today, guys. And sorry I missed out the past couple days. My son had some surgery. He's doing well. He recovered, but I wanted to just take a couple days off for that. So you can see here a breached dam, all right, happened in Ohio, now affecting people again. All right, because this is hitting the incinerated soil. So they burned all this soil that got contaminated with vinyl chloride in this explosion, and it released massive dioxins into the air. We're going to cover all this that can turn into Agent Orange. This is very serious and can stay in the environment for years and can contaminate the food supply. And now a massive dam has broken on one of the main waterways in East Palestine, and it flooded this incinerated soil that's filled with dioxins. All right, so it keeps getting worse. You can see here, breached dam, incineration of soil, flood in East Palestine with fresh fears of toxins. All right, and they said, quote, "I've had a fear, and now this just puts the anxiety over the top," said one local resident. So now they've already burned all these chemicals in the soil and released dioxins into the air. That's what all this black smoke is. And now on top of that, that soil is being flooded because there's massive rain in Ohio right now, and Kentucky as well. And it's flooding out the soil and spreading it out even more throughout the city. All right, they're saying kids' playgrounds are flooded right now with this incinerated soil that's filled with vinyl chloride that was burned and exploded. All right, this is a giant disaster. This is potentially the biggest environmental disaster in American history. The workers are totally exposed. They are just standing there directing traffic, keeping people away, and they're like, yeah, the derailment's right over there. My eyes are burning and I have a headache. They're like people are interviewing them like, hey, what's going on over here? They're driving up to the checkpoints, and the workers wearing nothing. They're just wearing a vest and a hard hat, some glasses or something, some shades, all right? Not even like goggles, just literally sunglasses. And they're telling people, yeah, my eyes burn, my head hurts to breathe, all right? Smells like chemicals. And they're just standing here like, this is one of the biggest catastrophes we've ever had. And it should be on the front page every single day. Every single day. And this happened before in the United States as well. We will get to that in just a second. In the 70s, there was a massive disaster where these dioxins got released into the air. And you can see here, this affects everything. So this water flooding, this dam breaking, all right, it affects everything. The Ohio River flows directly into the Mississippi, and that's why I said 10 states are affected here, because 10 states border the Ohio and Mississippi all the way down to the Gulf of Mexico there, and they're all at potential risk of being contaminated with these heavily toxic chemicals that can literally cause Agent Orange. All right, we're going to break down all this stuff in just a second, but this is huge that this many people, millions of people, tens of millions of people are being affected by this, and the federal government's response is literally nothing. Things were so bad that last week that Cincinnati closed their Ohio River intake, all right? And it really didn't help, because the train derailment happened 2 weeks before they even closed it. So didn't really help. It was kind of like too sorry, too late at that point. And all of these people are being contaminated with potentially Agent Orange creating chemicals. We will get to that in just a second. Let's get to the details of this dam breaking here as well, because this is one of the main waterways, and a lot of people are saying they are just diluting the water. They're not even really filtering it. They're just bringing water in and taking water out and bringing them to other states. All right, they literally got caught bringing water to Indiana and all the way to Texas to filter it out. This is just insane. The logistics of this is nuts. Who's running this? And think of the danger of driving this toxic wastewater all the way to Texas from Ohio. It's like, who's thinking of these plans? This is insane. It's like they almost want another accident to happen while they're driving down there and spill some more water. All right, it's insane. Makes zero sense. And this is what's happening right now. Is it poor management, or is it intentional? Is it intentional? All right, because these dioxins stay in the water, stay in the soil. The cows are going to eat the grass. The cows are going to drink the water. The chickens are going to, all the animals are. All the crops are going to be watered with this water from the Ohio River basin, and it's all going to be contaminated in our food supply. This is a massive grow zone for our country, and a lot of food comes out of this area, and it's going to all be contaminated with these dioxins, all right? So you can see here a makeshift dam collapsed from heavy rain in East Palestine, all right, again, and a contractor was even telling people to get out of the area because it is super dangerous to be here right now with the chemicals leaking all over the place, all right? So this was a massive dam break, and it's flooding kids' playgrounds, it's flooding the Roadhouse restaurant, it's flooding all the streets around, and this is the main creek or whatever, the main waterway that has the chemicals in it, all right? And it's, the dam broke because of all the rain, their little makeshift dam that they're using to filter everything out. So just disasters on top of disasters. Let's get into what's going on here with the EPA, though, because they are trying to cover up what's really happening in East Palestine. I keep mentioning these dioxins. These are key because they are not testing for these specific chemicals. They're only testing for volatile organic compounds broadly, and they're saying, hey, there's not much here, it's not enough to be dangerous, and they're not testing specifically for these highly toxic and dangerous chemicals that wouldn't show up in these tests. And they're also diluting the water to make it look like there's not as much in the soil and seeping into the environment than there is. All right, so we really can't trust these tests, and they're not even doing the right test as well. Sounds a little familiar, but we won't get into that. We can see here from The Guardian, it says, here's the real reason the EPA doesn't want to test for toxins in East Palestine. It says the agency is familiar with dioxins, having researched its adverse effects, and if they test the soil in East Palestine for it, they will find it. All right, so, and dioxins lead directly to Agent Orange-like chemicals, and this has happened in the United States before. You can see here it is well documented that burning coordinated chemicals like vinyl chloride will generate dioxins. Dioxins is a name given to a group of persistent, very toxic chemicals that share similar chemical structures. The most toxic form of dioxin is the 2,3,7,8 tetrachlorobenzo P-dioxin, all right, or the TCDD. TCDD is more commonly recognized as a toxic contaminant found in Agent Orange. And this happened at Love Canal, New York, and Times Beach, Missouri, both sites of two of the most tragic environmental catastrophes in history. So just a major coincidence that Agent Orange is potentially raining down in Ohio and staying in the water supply. All right, look at this river system. Look at this water system. And the Ohio River charges the basin, all right, for all your wells as well. So there's underwater rivers that are part of the aquifer. All these things are being contaminated right now, and there's really nowhere safe. It's very dangerous, and they're just blowing this over. They don't even want to test for it because they know there could be high levels of this TCDD, which is directly related to Agent Orange. This is insane that this is happening inside the United States right now. And you can even see here who even lists dioxins as highly toxic, and they can even contaminate our food supply. All right, you can see here, right here, this is on the WHO website, and it says dioxins are found throughout the world in the environment, and they accumulate in the food chain, mainly in the fatty tissues of animals. More than 90% of human exposure is through food, mainly meat and dairy products, fish and shellfish. Many national authorities have programs in place to monitor the food supply. Dioxins are highly toxic and cause reproductive and developmental problems, damage the immune system, and interfere with hormones, and also cause cancer. Due to the omnipresence of dioxins, all people have background exposure, which is not expected to affect human health. However, due to the highly toxic potential, efforts need to be undertaken to reduce current background exposure. All right, so right there, it accumulates in animal tissue, and they're saying the main exposure is already through animals. And how's it going to be now when all the water in Ohio, think of all the farms. This is prime farmland, prime Amish land. Ohio, Pennsylvania, Kentucky, Illinois. This is prime farmland in America, and it's being poisoned right now, all right? And they're going to just keep growing it, and they're going to just ship it to you and make you eat it as well. And it's not the farmer's fault, but this is what's happening right now. And you can see here, this was Love Canal in New York in the 1970s. Does this look a little familiar? Read this sign here. Does this look familiar? I'll read it for you if you're not watching. It says disaster area. City failed us. Taxation without representation. Federal government help. All right, it's a sign outside of a house that's boarded up. This is from the 1970s, and this was a very similar chemical event with the same exact chemicals as well. And this definitely looks like a familiar scene, all right? Federal government failed us, and this was in the 70s, and it's happening all over again. We're going to add East Palestine to this list of environmental disasters in the United States. And just a warning really quick, all right? This isn't like super graphic, but I'm just going to show you what Agent Orange does to people, all right? So if you don't want to see this, just skip whatever 30 seconds in the video. But this is what it does to people, all right? This is serious. This could be happening to people inside the United States, and this happens to people decades later still in Vietnam. These areas are still contaminated, and it's so sad. This is so sad. Look at this little guy. This is really sad. I have a son that's 3 years old. This is extremely sad, and this hurts. I'm not even gonna show the other ones that I have. But if you want to look more into it, Agent Orange is devastating. It caused microcephaly, macrocephaly, all these problems, and it's very sad and very devastating. And a lot of people that are poisoned with it, their lifespan is not average. It's not as long as it should be.